Now, heavy police presence in multiple South Florida schools today, but it was all due to a hoax. It's called swatting.
Some schools in Miami-Dade and Broward County were on lockdown after reports of an active shooter.
We have live team coverage this noon. Peter Dench spoke to the police chief for Miami-Dade schools, and Austin Carter gives us a closer look at exactly what swatting is.
Let's get right out to Peter Dench in Northwest Miami-Dade with what we know so far. Peter.
Well, Lauren and Keith, we just wrapped up a one-on-one interview with Miami-Dade Schools Police Chief Edwin Lopez. He told me that he is truly alarmed by these calls, but at this point, he has no reason to believe there's any evidence that would suggest the calls are related in any way to the final arguments in the case of the Parkland shooter. Now, Lopez said all 3 schools in Miami-Dade County were placed on lockdown after calls came in just after 7:30 this morning. We saw a great deal of police activity at Miami Central High School. He said calls also came in to Ronald Reagan and J.C. Bermudez High Schools in Doral with the same message. Authorities say similar calls were received at West Broward, Pompano Beach, and Dillard High Schools. Fortunately, there were no safety issues. No one was hurt. Now, we just spoke with the Miami-Dade Schools Police Chief.
Unfortunately, this morning we had 3 schools targeted with the hoax threats to shoot up the schools. These type of calls pose a big problem for us here in law enforcement because it drains our resources. We have a zero tolerance for that. Historically, we've been affected by this. A couple years ago, right after Parkland, we had an influx of these type of hoax calls. We made multiple threats. We also went on marketing campaigns advising students to think before you hoax. We partnered with FBI and a host of agencies, and it seems that we are getting the same influx of calls again.
Lopez told CBS 4 that his investigators are working hard to identify whoever made these calls. He told me that he believes all the calls came from the same source. It's not known how old that person is, whether that person could have been a student. We'll have much more on this story coming up tonight, starting live at 5.
Okay, thanks, Peter. And let's get right over to CBS 4's Austin Carter, who's at the alert desk right now to tell us more about exactly what swatting is. Austin.
Yeah, so Nicole, Keith, swatting is when someone makes a prank call to 911, prompting a massive response of police somewhere. Now, usually this relates to extreme violence, and these types of calls are becoming more frequent nationwide. We've had a fair share of swatting calls in South Florida also over the past couple of years. And back in 2017, actually, a more notable incident of swatting was when a California man was arrested in connection with a swatting call in Kansas where it led to the death of a man there. Now, here in Florida, the state has actually been cracking down on these swatting calls. As recently as last year, HB 371 was passed, and that basically stiffened any laws regarding swatting here and how folks are convicted. Speaking of anyone who is convicted of just making a false report here in the state could be responsible for paying a fair share of the police response to that swatting call. And if folks are injured, the penalties only increase.